Hello and welcome back to another tutorial. So in this tutorial, we're going to build a standalone Python Django package, which we're then going to be able to install into other Django applications. So I've got a pre-built application here that I'll show you. So that's already made. We're going to prepare it and package it up in preparation to then upload it to the Python package index. So we're going to need to go ahead and register an account there. Now there are two versions of the Python package index, the test Python package index and also the normal index. So we'll be utilizing here the test Python package index and not uploading to the actual Python package index, but it's the same process. But the test package here, or the test site, just allows us to practice and work with the Python package index in preparation for us to then actually upload it to the actual Python package index. So once we've done that and our package is available, we can go ahead and start a new Django project and download our package as if we're downloading any other package, Django or whatever package we download. So just in case you haven't gone to the Python package index, the Python package index, abbreviated as PyPI. Now, I call it PyPI, although it's pronounced PyPI. This is an official kind of third-party software repository for Python. So here you're going to find, like it says here, 292,000 projects, packages, which you could potentially use to integrate with other Python software that you're running. So far on this channel, we've been utilizing this to download Django. So we'll find Django in this package index. And then we've also installed other packages onto Django that are obviously dedicated to be installed onto or integrated in Django. So there's a widening range of software packages here on the index, as well as obviously Django packages. So in short, it's a software library where we're going to grab software that's been uploaded. Now what we want to do is we're going to set up an account, upload our package to the package index so that we and other people can download that package. So while we're talking about packages, let's just remind ourselves about package managers. So we have this package repository. Now we're utilizing package managers to access and download these packages from, for example, the Python package index. Now we're not limited to that. Most of these packages here will also make it available, or it will be possible to download from other resources, maybe other private resources, GitHub, for example, or just locally. So we're going to use these Python package managers, like I said, to help us install applications, uninstall packages. They're essentially going to manage or help manage packages on your system or within your environment. So that's really the main benefit of packages and why we're going to be utilizing while you're using package managers to download these packages from these different sources. So packages need packaging. So what we're going to do here in this tutorial is obviously package up an application. So packages are designed to exist, or packages exist to be deployed and installed. So when we think about packaging, we need to think about developing our application for packaging. So that's an important step, which I'll take you through when we start looking at the code. Just some basic overview of some things to think about, because we want to ensure that our package has everything we need to actually run that piece of software, that package, when someone else downloads it. So there's a few things that we just need to think about. So some other considerations to think about here when we're packaging something is who's going to actually run this? Are they going to be technically minded, etc.? How are they going to run it? Things like compatibility. What versions of Python or Django does it require? And then where is it going to be deployed? What type of environment is going to be deployed in? So those are just some things that we need to think about when we're packaging a package. And that's generally covered by documentation that we can create. And then also another consideration we can also integrate here with packaging is testing. So just looking at a basic packaging requirement here. And the steps that we're going to go through. So obviously we're going to need Python installed. So these are double dash version. And then obviously we're going to be utilizing pip here. I say obviously we are going to be utilizing pip here. And then we're going to need some other tools. So SetupTools, which I'll explain shortly, and will. and also twine. So what we'll find is if you're using a virtual environment, pip already has installed for you the SetupTools and will, and then all that needs us then is to install twine. So twine is basically a utility for publishing Python packages onto the Python package index. So it's a tool that actually will allow us to actually upload to the Python package index. So just to guide you on a brief overview of here, the SetupTools. So the SetupTools, this is what's going to facilitate the packaging of the Python projects, or a project that we're going to package. So the setup tool, that's where it's all directed here. So that's going to actually help us package the Python project. Now I've left you a link here to have a little read because there's lots of documentation here with this software. We're just going to go through the basic setup introduction here. So we don't really need to know much about it other than we need to use it to package up our project. So finally, will. So will is another one of those utilities to create these WHL files, L files. So will is going to help us in terms of the installation support. So will is going to create a package that is fast to install, that thinks about stability, and just generally supports the installation process. That's how I'm going to generalize it here. So there are different packaging. We could also think about will and as a different packaging format, and we can compare will with something called egg. And I've left you a link here to a comparison of those two tools. So the workflow is going to look like this. We'll make the application. Again, we've already pre-built it here. We then create some documentation. That's going to support the user so they know how to install and integrate it within their application. And then we're going to run the setup tools to build the package, and then run will to think about and to support the installation of that package. And then we're going to run twine to actually then upload to the package, the Python package index. Okay, so go ahead and download the repository that's linked in the video description. Of course, you could just use your own project if you wanted to adapt your project into a package. Maybe just make a backup of it first before you start making a package. So ideally, you would have a small scale type of application here, which maybe has a database dependency. That would be useful. So like I said, have a look in the link in the description. We'll download this as a simple application here, an inline form set application. So once you've downloaded standard practice, we're just going to create a new virtual environment. And like I said before, that's going to install the setup tools and the will tools. So we'll just do an update just to make sure they're updated once we get to that point. So just go ahead and activate that. And then there isn't a requirements file here. So all you're going to need to do is just pip install Django. So that obviously comes from the package, the Python package index. So upon actually installing and running the server, you can see I've end up with this small application here where I can add, or there's already a database here in actual fact. So we've got some authors here. So we can add an author, if you're not seeing this, and then we can edit the books for that author. It's just to showcase an inline form sets. So this is the application that we're going to build into a package. So just thinking about building an application into a package, here's what we need to think about. Now inside of here, for example, we may have a separate template folder and also a static folder. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this application that we're building here, in this case books, and we're going to turn that into a package. So what we just want to make sure in terms of a basic case here is we want to make sure that all the resources are inside of the books folder. So here you can see I'm using templates here. Now, if we think about what actually needs to be connected, so imagine we were to package this up now and install it. I guess there's just two things that we need to make sure that we have. Now, this has a model. So once we've installed this package, you would imagine we would need to follow the instructions. If you've installed any package before, you'll know that sometimes you need to add it into the installed apps. So we need to create some instructions for the user to tell them to do that. And then what else we need to do, like we have in the core, we're going to need to provide a path to the actual books application. So those are the two kind of setup things that we're going to need to document. when we're creating the documentation for users. And also that outlines those initial points to consider when you're creating an application here, or packaging up an application. So you can see that the templates are being served within the package in this case. So maybe now you can start to see or get a feeling of how potentially you might want to work with Django, because you may build an application in Django which can be a standalone application which you can then reuse in other applications that you build. And if you start thinking and designing your applications in that way, working with Django becomes incredibly quick potentially to build applications, because as you build more applications and build more apps, you can then start to think about making them into packages, smaller packages, which you can then use on other applications. So let's just go ahead in the console here and we'll start to run some commands first. So let's just close the server, Control-C, and let's just make sure we've got the tool. So this is pip install, upgrade, pip, SetupTools, and will. So it looks like we're doing some updates there potentially and installing all the dependencies we need. Now it says here, could not install package due to environment error. Access is denied. Consider using -- user option check. Okay, so let's just pip install. Let's just do this manually. Pip install the SetupTools. Okay, so now it says module not found. So, okay, let's do Python -m. No module name pip. Okay, I'm not too sure what's happened there, but there seems to be a problem with that. Found existing installation pip. Uninstalling. What did I just do? Pip install upgrade pip. So I upgraded pip, SetupTools, and will, and it looks like what's happened here is that it's uninstalled pip, and then there was an error, and I couldn't install it again. Okay. Okay, so I won't do that again. I just took the easy option there and just reinstalled the virtual environment. So let's go ahead again then and see what we've got here. So let's go ahead and try that again. So we're running the same commands again. So we could not install package due to pip. Okay, so pip install SetupTools. Okay, so SetupTools are okay. It's up to date, and then will. There we go. So we've installed will. There we go. So I've just individually installed those, SetupTools and will. So one thing I do apologize then, I thought our will and SetupTools were automatically installed when you start up a virtual machine, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So the problem here looked like I was trying to update will and it wasn't installed, and that's why that command just wasn't working. So when I run it again, you can see everything is now okay. So that seems to be the root of the problem there. Will isn't installed. Okay, so now we have everything in place. Let's go ahead now and actually create a new folder. We're going to call this Django Books. So create a new folder called Django Books, and we're now going to put our Books app directly into this new folder. So let's move it in. Okay, so we now have our new app folder, our standalone app folder. Obviously your system isn't going to be working now because we've moved the books from the project folder into the new folder Django Books. So just to confirm, we've tried to start the server. You can see that here we get an error here. The file name directory file volume label is incorrect. So let's go ahead and build some documentation. So I've already gone ahead and done that. So inside the Django's Books folder, I've created a new file here called readme.rst. And you can see inside of here, I've got a simple readme file where I'm just telling the user about how to install, or the steps to install the app. So they, first of all, they need to go to installed apps and use books, and then they need to go to the URLs and add this new path. Remember, I'm using namespaces for this application, so I've included that in. And then what you could then need to do is obviously run the migrate or make migrations migrate in order to migrate the model tables that we're using for this product, and then go ahead and actually then serve this from the books URL. Okay, so that's the instructions there in the readme.rst. Now I have made a mistake here on purpose just to show you this. So next up, we're going to need to create a new file, and this time we're going to create a setup. So a setup dot it's going to be a cfg config file. So a setup file. So this is the file that's going to be needed for the package index. This is additional information we're going to pass over to the package index so that it has all the information it needs in order to correctly display and serve your application. So there's a whole host of different setup information for this file, and I've left you a link in the description for this, but let's just go through like a basic setup or look through some of the options that we can define here. So here we're going to set out some metadata. So data about data. So this is going to be data about our application. So the name, the version, maybe 1.0, whatever it is at the moment, the author, author's email. We can also have a maintainer as well, name and their email. So for admin, for example. And then we can also set out a basic description and also have a longer description, which is going to link into our README file that we've just created. So we continue with a URL, and then also we can set a license, some keywords, for example, for our application, make it easier to find and search for. And then we create some classifiers. So here we're setting out the environment kind of variables, the framework, the intended audience, the license again, the operating system, and programming language. And at the end here, we've kind of identified where this potentially should be indexed: topic, software development, libraries, Python modules. So like I expressed earlier, there's lots of different options here. And if you want to kind of learn those, I have left a link in the description for you to learn a little bit more about some of the other options we've got available here. So in addition to the metadata, we also have options. What I'm going to do here is use the include package data equals true. So this is a setting which essentially tells the SetupTools to also install or copy over any data files it finds in your package. So for example, here we're going to have a README file and then potentially maybe a setup file, for example, and a license file. We'll set that up too. So yeah, here we're basically just saying to the package manager, yep, also include that in the package that gets distributed. So lastly, we have package find. So this is just a quick setup. We can specify the packages we want to find here. Find : is just going to kind of automate and speed up that process. So that's a basic setup file that we're going to need in order to upload to the Python package index. So next up then, let's just, while I mentioned that, let's just sort out our license, right? So let's sort that out. So this is just going to be an MIT license. So I'm just going to copy one in I've got already. There we go. So that's my license sorted. Now, remember I'm here specifying that to also include that in the setup. Now, this is only going to be available if I also include a manifest. So let's create a new file. I'm going to call that manifest dot, it's going to be an IM file. So we're also going to need this too. And then in here, we just need to specify the include. So we want to include the license. That's what we just created, right? So, and we also want to include the README file. So RST. And then we also potentially are going to include, for example, templates. So we can also kind of specify that too. So books, templates. So we're going to include those in. There we go. So lastly, we're just going to point SetupTools to our setup config so it can then perform all the actions. So what we also need here, the last file is going to be the setup.py file. And in here, basically, we're just going to tell, from SetupTools, let's import setup. and we're just, yeah, we're just going to then basically set it up or import. So that just brings in the setup tools. Okay. And then sets everything up. Okay. So now we're ready to actually package our application. So let's go ahead. So we're going to use a setup tool. So py setup .py. So we're running the SetupPi file. Okay. Before I forget, remember the directory that we're currently in here. So we're currently in the main core directory of our application. So we want to go into, to make this easier, we can go into this folder here. So let's just change the directory into the Django books folder and then run the commands from here. So here we're going to run the Python command. We're going to run the setup file. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So you can see what's happened now. If I go into my books here, I've created a new folder here. And it looks like we've tried to kind of package this up. We've got this GZ file here, this compressed file, which probably contains our application, right? So let's go ahead now and run the wheel. So py setup.py, and we're going to do bdist wheel. So we run wheel, and there we go. So we have now two files, two core files here. One's a WHI file, and we've got the payload. So if we go based upon what I've told you already, we could say potentially we've now got a setup file and a payload file. I'm going to go with that. So we've got these two files now. So that now sets up the distribution. Happy days. So in actual fact, we're now ready to upload it. So at this point, I just want to say that I've just shown you, to start off with, a basic setup that's going to just get this working. Okay, so there's a number of different steps and flags we could explain here. Just don't want to make it too overbearing. Just want you to kind of get this working so we can get through that initial stage. And then we can start thinking about some of the different parameters and, like I said, testing before and so on. So one thing to do actually before we run this, I think we need to pip install Twine. That's something that we need to do next. Remember, Twine is going to be a utility that's going to allow us to upload it to the Python package index. So let's go ahead and install that. And this comes with a number of different tools that we can use. And one thing that we can definitely use before we upload it and waste any time is to run Twine. And then we can just basically check it. So we can just check the distribution files. So we're just going into this folder here called dist, and you can see /all. So just check to make sure everything's okay. Now I did leave an error on purpose here, so we should have an error. So you can see here we've got a warning, line 1, title overline too short. Okay, so you can see that that's the case. So let's just go back into our let's see, README file. So it's just complaining that these little equal signs here, they just need to be over the actual title here, for example. So it's very specific, this type of setup, this syntax here. So if you're not familiar with this, this could cause you a few problems. So go ahead and just copy and paste this to begin with, and then kind of start to drill down into the more specifics when you've got time. So let's just run that again. Okay, so notice now when I run that again, what's happened? I've got the same problem, because what I need to do now is actually rebuild again. So I need to just go through the process again, the sdist, you can see that, yep, and then the wheel. We can just go through this process. That was the process, right? So now we can go ahead and check again. You can now see the error is gone. So we can also, this warning here, the fact that we can also define our README file. For example, UTF-8, we could define it as UTF-8, but the default is text XRST. So these are just different essentially styling formats, I guess we're describing here, and the styling here that is required in order for this to be compatible with the text XRST. And that was a problem we were getting earlier, basically, it wasn't compatible. So We can define that in our setup here. So we can define the content type. Right, so now we've done that, I think we're ready now. So we've set up our files again, we've configured the settings. So now we're ready to upload. So like I previously mentioned, the Python package index has two sites, say. Okay, so we've got the live index, so that's the pypi.org, and then we've also got the test website. So you're going to need to sign up individually for these packages or for these services. So go ahead and sign up, and I'll see you in a couple of seconds. So I've headed over to the test.pypi.org. This is where I'm going to upload and just check my package can be uploaded, and then use the package from there. So you can see once you've logged in, you'll need to go to the account settings. So go ahead and do that. We need to create an API key. So let's go down into, you're going to need to verify your email in order for this to work. And then go down to your API token and create your scope. So here you can just select the project, for example, you want to use the API for. I'm just going to select initially entire account and then give it a name and then add token. From there, you'll be presented with a token. I think it's a one-time only token, so you only see it once, so you have to record it. And then that's your token that we're going to use to then authenticate to log in and upload your package. So what we have available here is we can go ahead and do this and type this all in, of course, but we can also automate this if we want to. Now, if I run, for example, pip, I think it's pip config list. So this is going to be give me a list essentially of where variables are essentially going to be found and utilized. Now, what we can do here is we can create a file that has the login details already created. And obviously then every time we try to upload, it's just going to use those login files. Now on Linux and Mac, it's fairly simple to do this, but on Windows it's a little bit quirky where you need to actually put this file. So if you're using Windows, go ahead to your C drive, users, and then your user. And in this folder here, this is where you need to actually put this file. So we're creating a .py.pirc file. Now, if you haven't made a file like this before, what's generally going to happen is you're going to right click, say, and make a new folder, right? File, so a text document, right? And then you're going to say dot whatever. Now, what's going to happen now is that in actual fact, what you've just built there is a dot file name dot text file. So what you actually need to do is you need to kind of open it up here and then go to File, Save As, and then you can select all files and then just put doubles around and then save. And then that will actually then save it as the file type that you need here. So this is now an ASD SSD file, which obviously is nothing at all. So let's just get rid of that. So you're building here a .py.pirc file. Now inside of that, here we can set up all the configuration for the PyPI site and also the TestPyPI site. So here what we're going to need is to use the username as underscore token __, so the doubles, and then the password is going to be using PyPI dash then the actual API key that you're provided. So there we got the username and the password already set up, so we don't need to actually type that in. Okay, so now we're ready to upload. So let's use Twine to do that. We're going to upload our repository, and then we're going to specify the TestPyPI. And then, of course, we then need to say what we want to upload. So that's in the disk. So just make sure you're in the right directory. Remember, I'm in the package that I created the folder, sorry, Django_books, and then dis/star. So you can see that everything should automatically happen. So it already says here that the file already exists because I've already done it to check to see if it works. So that's why I can't upload it. So what I can do is obviously go ahead and change the names around. Or if I go into my projects here, you can see that it already exists. So let me just show you how to kind of delete this. Where am I going? So we've got this project. So we can go to manage, and then you can see here we've got settings, and down here we've got delete project. That was very quick. I do apologize. So we need the project name, which was called Django Books. So Django Books, delete project. There we go. So that's how to delete your project, if you're wondering how to do that. So you can find the other deletion where you actually delete the files, but the project actually still stays there. The container project still stays there. So that's how to completely get rid of the project. Now, it might take a couple of seconds just to upload before you need to then try and upload again. Update. So let's just try that again. So go ahead and actually delete the dist folder, because I just wanted to show you this. So if you do have this type of problem, you notice every time we run the command to package, you can see that we're building all these new packages and we're trying to upload all of these packages, which is not necessarily ideal. So delete this folder and then run this setup again. So that's the sdist, and then the wheel. And now try and upload. There we go. So now we've uploaded. We now have this available on the test package index website, so we can have a look. Okay, so I think I've covered there all the basic problems you might have initially. So do remember, every time you want to recreate your project, delete the folder and then recreate it. You can now see I've got this, I have my project here. I can manage it if I want to. So it's a version 3 and so on. So there's not too much I can do here that we need to talk about. I can view it on the site. So that's what it's going to look like. It's got my setup instructions as it's set in the README file. So notice that on the README file, the format, when there's 2 colons, it means that there's going to be a line break. That's why there's a line break there. And that's how to create a line break if you're not too sure how to use this formatting syntax. So yeah, so let's just follow our instructions, shall we? And try and build a new application with this project or this package. So here I'm just going to start from scratch again. I won't take you through this, but I'm going to build a new virtual environment, install Django, and then I'm going to try and install my application. So once my project's ready, you can see that I've got the string here that I need to type in to actually install this project. It's slightly different from what maybe you're used to installing from the link here. So I'll just go ahead and copy that. Let's go back into the project. Let's just bring that window down a bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and run the command to install it. Okay, so now we've installed. So what we need to do now is just follow our instructions. Now, the first thing is we need to go to the core and the settings. So we just need to actually register our app, of course. So it's just called books. We can double check, because if we go into the event folder and lib, you can see here it's called books. So that's the package where it's installed nicely next to Django, which we've installed via the package manager when we created this project. Okay, so you can see it's there. It's been downloaded, the book. So I'm going to call it into my project. And now I need to run the migrations. Not too sure if I've migrated or not yet. But you can see here at the end of this migration, it says the books database has been created. So let's just create a super user in case we're going to need that, and just check that. Okay. And we're going to finish off with this run the server. Run server. So we're going to need to set up the URLs. That's the last thing we're going to need to do. So in core, the URLs. Now let's have a look at our instructions that we set out. So we're going to need to include. Sorry, I'm doing this too quick. Include. Okay, so we're going to need to include. Let's just go back to our instructions. And we're just going to need to copy this in. So path books, migrate, etc. Now you notice the formatting here needs to be changed slightly. So the singles are incorrectly formatted. Okay. You can see that's going to happen for the whole thing, yeah. Okay. So once I've formatted this path here correctly, so now we should be able to go into books and access our project. So the server's on. So let's open a new tab and let's have a look. So we've registered the URL, it looks like. So /books. And there we go. So we've got our book application. So let's see if we can add a new author. New. So we do have database integration and we can edit those books, A, B, and C. So, and there we go. So if you managed to do all that, congratulations, you've just built your first Python Django package. Hopefully this has kind of inspired you now to think about programming and building your application in a way to create these reusable apps that you can then plug and play into other projects that you're potentially going to develop. So as per normal, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully it was useful, and hopefully I'll see you in the next tutorial.